Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's been about 4 or 5 months since I've posted, so it's nice to get back into the groove and start making some videos again. If you're wondering where I've been, if you can tell, I have a different background, and that's because I bought a house, and I've been super busy kind of getting everything ready for that and doing different things here. But now that it's the fall season, I'm ready to jump back into making some videos and covering the upcoming Oscar season. While it is early October and I generally don't do my first video until the end of the month or early November when I've had a chance to see a few more of the movies, I had some free time today, so I thought I'd hop on and share my current Oscar predictions for all the above the line categories. Please keep in mind, I've only seen a couple of these films so far, so a lot of my predictions are going off of reviews that I've seen and online buzz and different things like that, but I thought it'd be fun to get some really early Oscar predictions out there. So, without further ado, let's jump right into them. Kicking things off, we have the Best Picture category. And I have to say, even though there's quite a few films here I haven't seen, this seems to be one of the more crazy Best Picture categories in recent years. It seems like usually after TIFF or some of the other fall film festivals, we have a pretty secure 8 or 9 movies we feel like will probably get into the Best Picture race. But this year, it seems like there's probably only about 6 of these films that are pretty much locked to make Best Picture. So it's definitely going to be an interesting season, kind of seeing what happens at the precursors. But jumping right into number one, we have One Battle After Another. One Battle After Another, I think, is by far and away in the lead to take home the Best Picture prize. It's come out to amazing reviews. I really, really enjoyed the movie. And it kind of seems like this is the year where Paul Thomas Anderson is finally going to get his flowers and take home some gold trophies. I really just don't see another film pushing this movie that hard at the current time. If any movie is probably going to, it's probably Hamnet in the number 2 slot, which has like a 90 plus on Metacritic right now and is doing outstanding on Rotten Tomatoes. But with it kind of being what seems to be a sad drama film, I have a hard time seeing that take home Best Picture with the absolute edgier seat thriller powerhouse of One Battle After Another in the first slot. But Hamnet is very clearly one of the top Best Picture contenders as well. Currently at the New York Film Festival, some people were able to see Marty Supreme, and that seems to be a lock to get into the Best Picture race as well. Everyone was praising Timothée Chalamet for an outstanding performance, and the movie seems to just be like bonkers, nonstop, off the wall craziness for 3 hours, and that also seems to be doing pretty well. At number 4, we have the film that came out way back at the beginning of the year, and that's Sinners. Sinners has kind of just held steady throughout this entire year so far. It made a whopping, truckload of money at the box office for an original horror film. So I'm glad to see that that seems to be kind of on track to make the Best Picture 10 as well. Then at number 5 is Sentimental Value, which seems to be the last film I would say that has a lot of weight behind it to take home multiple Oscars in the above the line categories. There is a lot of actors in this film contending for nominations and wins, so I'm very interested to check out this movie as well. Now, kind of jumping down into the more iffy category, at number 6, I do have Wicked for Good. I feel pretty secure in Wicked getting into Best Picture, and that's mostly because I think Ariana and Cynthia are pretty much locks to get into their respective categories for a second year in a row here, and I'm sure Wicked is going to make millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not sure if it's going to reach that $1 billion range, but it's going to do well at the box office. And it seems to be that kind of a one big blockbustery type film that's going to slot in this year. At number 7, I do have Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. It's very common to see these music biopics make it into the top 10. This one doesn't seem to be quite as strong as, the Bob Dylan one from last year, possibly Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that. But with there being really no other biopic type of film, I just feel like it's one of those films that's going to sneak into the top 10. Also, it probably has some chance for some acting nominations as well, which we will talk about in a little bit here. Now, 8 through 10 is where I really start to kind of like throw my hands up. I don't know what's going to happen. At number 8, I do have Begonia on. This is probably my most anticipated movie of the year. It comes out at the end of October, and I'm super excited to see this because I love Yorgos Lanthimos, I love Emma Stone, and I love when they work together. And Yorgos seems to kind of be an Academy darling at this point in time. A lot of his movies make it in, and it's usually the ones where he writes the film himself don't seem to make it into the Best Picture race, and this is based off of, I believe it's either a Japanese or a Korean film, don't quote me on that, but it is an adaptation of another country's film. So I think with him not being kind of writing the film, it has a good shot of making it in. At number 9, I have the Palme d'Or winner. It was just an accident. We generally see one or two international movies make it in. Sentimental Value is an international film, but it just doesn't have that international feel, when we normally get like Parasite in or Anatomy of a Fall or something along those lines. It was just an accident, seems to line up with that sort of trend more. So I think it's very possible that the Palme d'Or winner will sneak in again here, and that's been a pretty big trend as well with the Palme d'Or making the Best Picture 10. At number 10, I threw in Frankenstein, and I just don't feel good about it, but I feel like Netflix has like 3 or 4 films that are just hovering around like the good area that have a shot to make it in, and Netflix generally seems to get one movie in every single year. And this is Guillermo del Toro, and he is an Academy darling as well. So just kind of in my gut, I feel like this is the easiest film to put at number 10 right now. Although I just don't think it's going to make it in just because it's kind of a horror adaptation. But I just wasn't sure what else to put here right now. And kind of jumping into my movies I have below the line, I have Avatar, Fire and Ash. I feel like The Way of Water, the second Avatar movie, was right on the cusp of getting cut the last Oscar season when that got into a few places. And I feel like the Academy might just be burnt out, especially with how recent The Way of Water came out. I'm not sure if the technological CGI advancements we saw from the first Avatar in 2009 to Avatar Way of Water is going to be as big from Way of Water to Fire and Ash, if that makes sense. I feel like this just might be more of the same, but this time instead of water, we're seeing fire. And I feel like, the Academy will acknowledge this movie in other areas like special effects and things like that. But I feel like this may be when the Avatar movies kind of take a back seat and trickle out of the Best Picture 10. At number 12, I have Noah Baumbach's Jay Kelly. This movie has had very mixed reviews so far, but not too many people have been able to see it. It definitely has some acting contenders with George Clooney and Adam Sandler, which I will speak about more later as well. But just kind of with the reviews coming out so far, I feel a little bit uneasy about it. I was kind of hoping this was going to be Netflix's big push because it just seemed like a very easy film to slot into the top 10 because the movie seems to be about a struggling actor, and we all know the Academy loves to kind of pat themselves on the back and acknowledge Hollywood when they can. So, if the buzz picks up and the festival that it premiered at was just kind of lukewarm on it, maybe it's possible it picks up some steam. And number 13 is one of the odder films, and that's The Testament of Anne Lee. This is Mona Fastfold's new movie, and I've just kind of heard it's very wild, very out there. I believe it is slightly a musical. I'm not sure if it's a full-on musical, but it has some crazy set designs, some wonderful, moments throughout. It's just one of those movies I feel like is the most out there and kind of weird, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes the Academy goes out to bat for those types of movies. But I'm interested to see this movie for myself because I just don't really know if I have a good grasp on what this movie is at this time, other than just kind of hearing some people talk about how it's a massive swing, looks really beautiful, but they aren't all in on it. At number 14, we have Netflix's third movie I'm talking about, and that's Catherine Bigelow's A House of Dynamite. This movie just kind of seems to be the lesser of the three Netflix movies with Frankenstein, J. Kelly, and House of Dynamite. And I guess Netflix kind of also has Knives Out 3 that they're probably going to be pushing in a couple of categories as well. So they're just spreading themselves kind of thin with how much they have this award season and not having kind of one big juggernaut film to push. And from what I've heard so far, House of Dynamite seems to be the lesser of these films that I feel like are going to be pushed. I could be proven wrong. We've seen Bigelow get into the Oscars. We've seen her win Best Picture before. So that could sneak up as well. At 15, I have Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. Park Chan-wook hasn't had much luck at the Academy Awards so far, but people are saying this movie is very, very good. So I'm excited to check it out, and maybe has an outside chance this year as well, given there is kind of that lack of international presence near the top 10 Best Picture race so far. And down there for my last movie I have listed is The Smashing Machine. A lot of people seem to be praising The Rock's performance in this film, but I have a feeling it's just not bringing enough heat as it has failed miserably at the box office, and I'm just not sure if it's going to get a Best Picture nomination just over Dwayne Johnson's performance. So overall, this is a really interesting Best Picture race so far. There is a lot of uncertainty, and I'm very excited to see how it unfolds. If you're asking me currently, just based off the current climate, I would lock in the top 6 that I have listed there to make it into the Best Picture 10 at this point in time. But if you told me anything from 7 down to 10 got flopped out and just didn't make it, I would be not shocked at all. So I'm very excited to see these movies and see how my opinions kind of shape what I think will make it into the Best Picture race in the coming months. Shifting over to director now, I feel a little bit more sure about this category than Best Picture, especially for the top 4. Obviously precursors can shake things up and shocking things can happen, but just from initial, reviews and things like that, obviously Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another is in the first slot. At this point in time, I'd almost say this is a lock to take home the award. I feel like even if for some reason One Battle After Another doesn't win Best Picture, I think this is PTA's year to finally win a directing trophy, because that movie just is on pace to probably get 12, 13 plus nominations at this year's Academy Awards, and I'm just not sure what else is going to pressure it in this category. Obviously, we have Ryan Coogler in the number 2 spot. Everyone was enamored with Sinners when it came out early in the year. That initial dance barn scene is outstanding, but I just feel like Ryan Coogler has not been nominated for Best Director yet, and I think the Academy is probably going to think he's going to be back here. He is pretty young in his career. He hasn't made a ton of movies yet, and he has shown time and time again that he is an excellent filmmaker and will most certainly make something again in the future. And I also just have a hard time seeing the Academy award someone for a horror adjacent movie. It's just something that does not generally happen in the director category. So that's kind of why I have PTA at 1, Ryan Coogler at number 2. Kicking in at number 3, I have Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. Given the NIF reactions, it seems like this is a heart-pounding, edge-of-your-seat, uncut gems-esque 3-hour-long ride. And if this movie is that zany and that good, I feel like the direction is probably very solid as well. So I slotted him in at 3. At number 4, I have Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. Once again, if Hamnet is the number 2 film kind of pushing One Battle After Another for Best Picture, I think Chloe Zhao is going to get in for director. She is a previous winner for Nomadland, so I think the Academy director branch would love to get her back in for another film. Number 5, I have Joachim Trier in for Sentimental Value. So this is currently just my top 5 in Best Picture. I have my top 5 in director, which probably isn't the safest thing in the world. Generally, the director's branch likes to go out and pluck kind of 1 or 2 directors that are a little bit further down the list, possibly still in the Best Picture race, but just someone trying to do something a little bit different. Kind of given what I've heard about Sentimental Value, I'm not sure if this is the most, visually stunning film of the year. I feel like it might be very calculated, which can also get you a nomination. But something about this pick feels a little bit more uneasy, but at this time, I'm not sure what to put in there. Kind of looking further down my list here, I have Jafar Pahani. I believe I pronounced that correctly, for It Was Just an Accident. The director's branch does like to go out for their international directors, and if they want to go with the Palme d'Or winner, we have seen that happen in the past as well, so I think that's very possible. Then I have Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia. From what I hear, this is a little bit more of a chamber piece type of film, so maybe not as grand as something like The Favorite or Poor Things. So I have him on the outside looking in currently. Guillermo del Toro is an Academy darling, like I said in the Best Picture segment. So if Frankenstein is absolutely stunning, I could see him making it in. I just feel like it's probably not going to happen here. If anything, I think his kind of prize would be getting that Best Picture nomination if he can sneak into the 9 or 10 slot there. Park Chan-wook, once again, if they want to go out to bat for him finally, that would be a really cool nomination. And then Mona Fastfold, I have at number 10. Once again, if her swing is just as big as her husband's, Brady Corbet, from last year with The Brutalist, it's very possible that the director's branch finds this film absolutely stunning and wants to get it in there. And generally, or especially if we see that happen at Precursors, that's where I could see The Testament of Annalise start sneaking up closer to a Best Picture nomination as well. And then at number 9, I did put Catherine Bigelow for House of Dynamite. Once again, this seems to be more of like a smaller chamber piece film from what I'm hearing. But Bigelow has been at the Oscars before, so I wanted to make sure to include her as well. Kicking off the acting categories, we have lead actress. Number 1, I have Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. Everything I've heard from the fall film festivals is Jessie Buckley has finally found herself a role that is going to put her in contention to win the gold trophy come early next year. And we all know Jessie Buckley is a wonderful actress. I pretty much love her in every single role I've seen her in. So I'm very excited to check out Hamnet, and it's no shock to me if she is the lead contender this year, just given how wonderful of an actress she is, and kind of if she finally found that perfect role to put her into that awards contention. At number 2, though, I do have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked for Good. I believe the kind of hype train for Wicked has never really let up. People are still clamoring over the first part, and even though I've heard that the second half of the musical is weaker than the first part of the musical, I still feel like they are just going to roll right through and kind of keep those same nominations they had last year this year. And overall, I think this year is a little bit weaker so far in lead actress. Unless Buckley just starts sweeping, I do think Erivo has a chance to pick up 1 or 2 Precursors, which could launch her right into that winning race as well. At number 3 seems to be the third lady who is really contending for the win, and that's Renata Reinsva for Sentimental Value. This seems to be an actor's film. I think I have the most acting predictions currently for this film as we go on throughout this video. So if she is in the lead role and people are just loving the performances here, I could easily see her picking up a few awards as well on her way to possibly contending this year. 4 and 5, and kind of going down the list a little bit, that's where I start to feel a little bit more iffy currently. At number 4, I do have Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another. I do think Chase Infinity is probably one of the weaker parts of the acting group. You'll kind of see who else I have picked out as we continue on here. I just didn't feel like her performance was, like Oscar winning worthy. But I'm sitting here, I think One Battle After Another is going to be this year's, Oppenheimer, where it is just sweeping awards and people are just checking that movie down their ballots. And if that is the case, I think Chase Infinity, who is kind of a new young actress on the block, could sneak in and get her first nomination. They have come out and said she is going to be pushed in lead actress. So I feel like if they feel confident enough to push her in this category, they are going to really, really, really want to get her nominated here and kick off her career on the right foot. So I have her in currently. Then at number 5, I do have Begonia, Emma Stone. Emma Stone is clearly an Academy favorite at this point. She's already taken home a couple trophies with La La Land and Poor Things. She has been nominated for other films as well. So it's really no surprise if she gets in here. I'm just worried that maybe if they think she has been, at the ceremony enough recently, maybe they will kind of push her to the side this year and give other people a chance to get an opportunity to be nominated. But with me currently having Begonia in the top 10 for Best Picture, I definitely wanted to slot her in the top 5, because kind of after that it kind of drops off. There really isn't any other lead actresses contending from Best Picture films. But that's not always necessarily a bad thing. Generally, we do see some actors pop up in movies that don't get into the Best Picture race. So it is very possible that one of these other ladies, or someone I don't even have listed here, is going to sneak up as the season rolls along. Down below, I have Rose Byrne's for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. This seems to be a widely loved performance so far this year. It seems to be one that people have talked about for quite some time. So if they want to push Rose Byrne, it seems like this could be like a lone nomination for this film, which is always a hard thing, but a lot of people seem to love it. At number 7, I have Amanda Seyfried for The Testament of Anne Lee. Once again, this is kind of contingent on The Testament of Anne Lee doing well, kind of possibly doing well at the box office, doing well at precursors, people really vibing with this movie. It's kind of the biggest question mark for me so far is The Testament of Anne Lee. I'm not quite sure what is going on with this movie. So I'm interested to see what happens with that, and definitely Amanda could sneak into the Best Picture race if that film starts to heat up at the right time. And at number 8, I have Sydney Sweeney in Christie. That's Sydney Sweeney playing a real-life person, and of course the Academy loves their biopics, so if they want to sneak her in, obviously that's a possibility as well. And that's kind of all I really have at this time. Jennifer Lawrence for Die My Love was someone I was considering putting on here, but I just don't know what's going on with that film. I believe it premiered, did it premiere at Cannes this year? But there's no like release date or anything for it yet, so I'm not sure what to feel about that movie. If there's anyone else that's kind of on the outside looking in that you are aware of, definitely drop in the comments down below, because this is kind of the one acting category I feel the most uneasy about right now in trying to predict. Shifting over to lead actor, I feel a little bit more secure with this category, even though there are still some question marks as well. At number 1, I have Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme. Everything I heard out of those early screenings at the New York Film Festival is that Timothée Chalamet is electric, bouncing off the walls and bonkers in this movie. We saw Timothée Chalamet take home a SAG award last year for portraying Bob Dylan, and so we know he was probably second in the lead acting category last year at the Oscars. So I feel like this is shaping up to be the perfect kind of blend and mix to get Timothy his first gold trophy. But once again, he's very young. I'm sure the Academy is very aware he's going to be nominated multiple times over the upcoming decades. So if they feel like it's not the perfect time to award him, we could see someone else sneak up, but I think he's number 1 for me right now. At number 2, I do have Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another. Before I saw the film, I kind of had him on the outside looking in. I thought maybe he'd be kind of pushing those around him like he did for Killers of the Flower Moon, but Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic in this movie. And if Marty Supreme slips after its December wide release in theaters, Leonardo DiCaprio is right there in the Best Picture frontrunner to possibly sneak in and grab his second gold trophy. At number 3, I have Jeremy Allen White for Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. The Academy loves to nominate and award people who portray real-life people, so Jeremy Allen White being a very well-established actor portraying Bruce Springsteen, I have a feeling that he will easily sneak into this Best Picture race, even if for some reason Springsteen tumbles out of the top 10 for the Best Picture race. At number 4, I have Jesse Plemons for Begonia. This is kind of the one award I feel the most secure in for Begonia. I just feel like Jesse Plemons is becoming a more well-regarded actor. He is starring in a lot of work. He is doing fantastic work as well. And from what I've heard about Begonia, he seems to be the one performance that everyone is highlighting, so I believe he will sneak in here too. At number 5, I have Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. I think Michael B. Jordan did a fantastic job in Sinners, playing Smoke and Stack. For the first part of that movie, I didn't even realize it was Michael B. Jordan playing both characters. That is how phenomenal he was doing. So just kind of doing that dynamic role, I feel like he deserves a nomination. However, I could see him slipping out of this 5 for some reason, just because it is that horror performance. And even though we saw something like The Substance perform well last year, it always leaves me a little bit worried on the outside looking in. But Sinners should be a top 5 movie at the awards ceremony this year, so hopefully he can sneak in as well. At number 6, I have George Clooney for Jay Kelly. I had Jay Kelly in my top 5 for the longest time, but with the mixed reviews of Jay Kelly, I feel a little bit uneasy about this film. But once again, I'm just going to kind of wait and see what happens when more people are able to view this film. Then we have Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine. A lot of hype for his performance. I'm just worried that the movie is too small. It didn't do that well at the box office, and I'm just kind of a little bit iffy on if the Academy is going to go out and watch this film, but we all know Dwayne Johnson has a lot of power behind him. He knows a lot of people in the industry, so if he really wants to push himself, he definitely has the power to campaign himself to a nomination if he so wishes. Then kind of below that, I have 3 actors in movies that I've definitely heard some things pop up here and there. I'm not sure how I feel about them. I don't know a whole lot about the films themselves, but Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Wagner Moura in The Secret Agent, and Daniel Day-Lewis in Anemone. Daniel Day-Lewis obviously is one of the greatest living actors of our time. That movie just didn't make a lot of money, and it sounds like he's really not kind of going out and campaigning for awards all too hard, so I have him on the lower end. But definitely I've heard people talk about Ethan Hawke and Wagner Moura, so definitely those could be possible, films that get their lone nomination in this category. Shifting over to the supporting categories, we're going to kick things off with supporting actress, and at number 1, I have Ariana Grande for Wicked for Good. We know that the Academy loves awarding musical performances in the supporting categories. And look at last year. Ariana Grande was probably number 2, but she lost to Amelia Perez, which was a musical film in its own right as well. So I believe that Ariana Grande has a very good chance of taking home this award. Also because I'm not sure how I feel about anyone else in this category right now in regards to being in that lead spot. At number 2, I have Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another. Tiana Taylor is absolutely one of the highlights of this film, even though she's only in about 20 to 30 minutes of the film. And because she's in such a short amount of the movie, that's why I don't have her in the first position. But I feel like just her presence alone in that movie and kind of how you can feel the weight of her character throughout the 3-hour-long runtime and what she means to everyone in the film, I think she has a big enough, overarching role in the movie to get nominated. However, I just not sure if I could see a win out of that. At number 3, I have Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value, and I could definitely see one of the Sentimental Value women taking home the supporting actress role. The other one I have here is, I apologize if I butcher this, Igna Isdaughter Lilesa. I don't know too much about her. She's definitely not familiar to me, but people have said that both her and Fanning are phenomenal in Sentimental Value. I always worry about characters in the same movie splitting votes, or actresses in the same movie splitting votes, when it kind of comes to those dual nominations like this. But if one of them kind of becomes the front runner, I could see one of them vaulting themselves up to number 1 as well. This is kind of going to be a wait and see sort of thing when it comes to the precursors. And sandwiching between them, I have Gwyneth Paltrow and Marty Supreme. I believe Marty Supreme is going to be a top 3 contender, and Gwyneth Paltrow has obviously been nominated before. She's won before, but it has been a while, but I feel like they will welcome her back with a nomination too. And kind of going down the list here a little bit, I have Amy Madigan for Weapons. This kind of seems to be an online topic of conversation after seeing, Demi Moore get nominated last year for The Substance. Could another horror nomination be on the horizon in an acting category? And I think Amy Madigan definitely deserves it. I just have a hard time seeing it happen, so I have her on the outside currently. Um, then I have Odessa Azion for Marty Supreme. I've heard a few things that saying she may be better than Gwyneth Paltrow. I just kind of have a hard time seeing her leap kind of the the celebrity status of Paltrow currently. But I'll check out the movie, and if I feel like it is that big of a swing between the two ladies, maybe I'll flip flop them. Then at number 8, I have Emily Blunt for The Smashing Machine. She seemed to be firmly in the top 5 for a while, but after the movie came out and underperformed, I feel a little bit more iffy on that. That's kind of a wait and see as well. And then at number 9, I have Glenn Close for Knives Out 3, Wake Up Dead Man. Definitely a long shot, but Glenn Close loves to get nominated, so it's definitely an opportunity for her as well. Moving on to our final acting category is the one I think may be the most cutthroat this award season, and that is supporting actor. And I say that because I believe all 9 of these actors right here have a very good chance of getting nominated, and I think a lot of it is literally just going to depend on how the precursors fall. Kicking things off, the top 3 are actors I feel like are absolute locks to make it. Number 1, I have Sean Penn for One Battle After Another. Just a phenomenal villain performance here. I feel like this is the strongest performance in PTA's newest film, and I feel like Sean Penn should take home this award. I feel pretty strong about that. But behind him, we do have 2 very, very highly regarded performances with Paul Mescal and Hamnet. You heard me talk about people raving about Jesse Buckley and this movie at the festivals. So Paul Mescal should trail along and get a nomination, and I heard he was great as well. Maybe not on Jesse Buckley's level, so that's kind of why I knocked him down to number 2. Then at number 3, I have Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. It seems like this is the acting contender that most people feel like has the opportunity to win for Sentimental Value. Maybe Renata Reinsvet seems like it's kind of, between them two for the chance to win. This is kind of going to be wait and see for me. I'm not quite sure what this performance is. I'm not sure if it's going to be big and showy enough, since this movie seems to be a little bit more reserved from what I hear. But once again, I haven't seen the movie, so my opinion could change after seeing it. At number 4, I have Delroy Lindo in Sinners. I feel like Delroy Lindo has the best opportunity to get a nomination, even over Michael B. Jordan for this movie. He's a wonderful comedic relief, and he's definitely one of the performances I think about the most when I think about this film, and I think it would just be a very, very cool nomination. Then at number 5, I have Adam Sandler for Jay Kelly. Adam Sandler seems like one of those actors that, the industry is waiting for the chance to nominate him. He is such a beloved man. Everyone loves all of his comedy films he has released over the decades, and people love when he can turn on his acting chops. He was fantastic in Punch Drunk Love. He was great in Uncut Gems. So if he's good here in Noah Baumbach's newest movie, I could see people wanting to give him the nomination. But with this film once again getting mixed reviews, like I talked about with George Clooney, we'll just have to wait and see. At number 6, I have Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another. He is another powerhouse in this movie. He's very memorable, very funny. Everyone loves that "a few small beers" line at the end. I just kind of have a hard time getting so many acting nominations in for this film. If I would put him at the 5 slot, that would be 5 acting nominations for One Battle After Another. And I feel like that's just a little bit overkill. And I feel like Benicio del Toro isn't in a ton of the movie. And I feel like most people are going to want to award Sean Penn here. At number 7, I have Jeremy Strong for Springsteen. We saw him make it in last year for The Apprentice, which was a movie that didn't make it in anywhere else besides acting categories. So it's definitely possible for him to show up. And once again, they love kind of putting in these actors who portray real life people. We saw Edward Norton get in alongside Timothée Chalamet for the Bob Dylan biopic last year. So definitely keep your eye out for Strong, because those seem to kind of be, nominations that come in pairs. At number 8, I have Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein. I'm not quite sure what his role entails. I believe he plays Frankenstein's monster in the movie. So if it's kind of just a lot of makeup and he's kind of groaning and walking around, I might have to clear him straight off this list. But if it's very, very cool, very weird, very zany, out there monster performance, it could be someone who could sneak in. And then at number 9, I have Jonathan Bailey for Wicked for Good. I'm not too familiar with Wicked, especially the second half of the musical, but if he plays a bigger role, I could see him sneaking in because he got in at the SAG Awards last year, but I don't think he really came close to sniffing an Oscar nomination, so that's why I have him way down at the bottom. So this is definitely a race that I'm going to keep my eyes on. There's a lot of actors here I would love to see nominated, so I'm excited to see how this one shakes out. Kicking off the final two categories, we have adapted screenplay. At the number 1 and number 2 slot, I have One Battle After Another and Hamnet. I feel like these two films are going to be flip-flopping back and forth throughout the season on who's going to take home this award. I just put Hamnet at number 1 right now just because I have so many One Battle After Another front runners that I feel like Hamnet should at least be in the lead in one of these categories just in case. But I think both those films will easily get nominated here. At number 3, I have Begonia. That seems like the type of movie that will easily get into the screenplay category, even if for some reason it slips out of the top 10. At number 4, I have Wake Up Dead Man. We have seen Knives Out movies get nominated in the screenplay category before, and with this kind of being a weaker category so far, I think it can sneak in and Knives Out can get another screenplay nomination. At number 5, I have Frankenstein. Once again, I really want to see this movie. I'm not sure how much Del Toro injected his own kind of storytelling into this, or if he stayed very true to the source material. I'm kind of interested. If he put a little bit of twist on the Frankenstein story, I could see them wanting to give that an adapted screenplay nomination, but kind of wait and see on that one. Then at number 6, I have No Other Choice. Once again, if the Academy finally wants to give Park Chan-wook some flowers, they could sneak him in. Number 7, I have Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. I just feel like these musical biopics have a little bit tougher time getting into the screenplay categories, but it's very possible. And at number 8, I have Wicked for Good. I'm just not sure if I see that sneaking in here unless kind of the new musical numbers and new songs they're adding in are really, really popular and inject a lot of innovative storytelling into the musical, then it might be possible that they want to knock that into the top 5 too. And our final category today is original screenplay, and I'm kicking it off with Sentimental Value. That seems to be the more acting and dialogue heavy film out of everything here. You saw how many acting categories I had the movie in for. So I feel like this is an area where it could have a very good shot at taking home an award. At number 2, I have Sinners, a wonderful original horror adjacent screenplay that definitely deserves to get in. Number 3, Marty Supreme, if this is just as crazy as everyone thinks it's going to be and has said it is so far, I think that'll get in. And number 4, It Was Just an Accident. People seem to really praise that aspect of the movie when it won the Palme d'Or. So I feel very strongly in those 4 films getting in unless something really crazy starts to happen. At number 5, I do have Jay Kelly. Noah Baumbach is a very, very good writer, and I feel like even if Jay Kelly doesn't make the Best Picture 10, I feel like it could sneak in here and get a nomination for a screenplay. And also, if George Clooney or Adam Sandler comes along with The Ride and gets an acting nomination, I feel like that just boosts the chances of it getting an original screenplay nomination. And number 6 is House of Dynamite. I spoke a little bit earlier that this is a little bit more of a chamber piece from Catherine Bigelow, from what I'm hearing. So if it's very, very tight screenplay, very, very well written, definitely a chance to get in there. Testament of Ann Lee, once again, kind of the wild card movie, waiting to see. If people love it, could sneak in. If it's mixed, I feel like this movie could easily just kind of drop off a lot of my lists that I shared today. Number 8 is Weapons. I don't see Zach Cregger getting a nomination here, but if it was me, Weapons is a movie that would be contending. And at number 9 is a movie I haven't talked about at all today, and that's Rental Family. A lot of people were thinking this was going to be a crowd pleaser, and Brendan Fraser was going to be nominated for another Oscar after winning for The Whale a few years back. But It seems to be just kind of an average movie. It kind of has faded into obscurity, and no one's talking about it anymore. But this would kind of be the one category. It still has a small breath of life left, but it's a very, very much a long shot to get in. So this is kind of what I'm going for right now. I think it'll be 5 of those top 7 films I have listed that will get in. I want to thank you guys for checking out my very, very early Oscar predictions. I kind of hoped you like listening to me talk through what I think's going to happen this award season, even though I've only seen about 2 of these movies so far. I'm very interested to see how my personal opinions will shape once I get a chance to see these, and kind of how the Oscar race starts to shake out once the precursors begin to happen in a couple months here and we start to hear nominations and things like that. Please let me know your thoughts, who you think's going to get nominated in the comments down below. Love to have a conversation this time of year around these topics as everything's up in the air. Other than that, I hope all of you guys have a wonderful spooky season. Get out there, watch some wonderful horror movies. I'm wearing my Drew Barrymore Scream shirt right now, so definitely make sure to get those spooky season films in while we have a couple weeks left here of October. But I look forward to speaking with you guys again, probably around mid to late November, when I've checked out a couple more of these movies with some updated Oscar predictions, and maybe at that time I'll feel more confident to even start breaking down some of the below the line technical categories as well. It was wonderful to sit down and make a video again. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.